touch upon is housing and the individuals who are on the tenant assistance waiting list. Somewhere between 330 and 340 people.
Right.
And again, the role that stress plays in individuals who are HIV positive, stress affects all of us, right? But it affects, if you have a compromised immune system, it has a really big impact. Right. Do we have any solutions to those who are on this waiting list? Are there efficiencies that can be garnered from the way we run our HOPWA? Are there recommendations you would like to make, or what would you advise us to do with this backlog, of this wait list?
Right. So we take the waiting list very seriously. But I have to tell you, I'm also glad that it means that more people are aware of the HOPWA program and are getting into the system to be counted than maybe might have been several years ago. I think over preceding me, a lot of effort had been done to reach out and make people aware of the HOPWA program, and that's very important because sometimes when you don't see a waiting list, it's because nobody knows your program is there. Two major contributors to the increasing size of the wait list for long-term housing vouchers. Number one is clearly just the increasing need. This is not limited to HIV. It's the factor of the economic situation. So more people in need of housing assistance than I think ever before. Second is also because I think of the economic situation, fewer people being able to graduate off of long-term housing assistance into another more permanent supports, whether it's self-supporting or Section 8 or things like that. Because with sort of a fixed amount of funds for long-term housing support, it takes someone coming off to get another person off the wait list and into it.
But may I jump in there for just a second? What if we were to use, and this is not something I would expect you to focus on, you've got other issues, but our Department of Housing and Community Development, rather than have a lot of money directed at rental support, where rents have remained steady or in fact increased, there do seem to be a lot of properties that are in foreclosure. I mean, I hate to point out the obvious, but at some point, does it not make sense for us to look at those properties to switch just a bit from a tenant assistance to a system that maybe manages an inventory of existing housing? Now, that may present all kinds of other problems and administrative layers, et cetera. But to the extent we're spending real money on rents, we might actually get an asset for those same dollars spent on purchasing items out of foreclosure.
Yeah, I think creativity and definitely I would defer to the housing experts on what are some of the creative solutions for continuing to expand housing options for folks.
All right.
A couple other things that I want to make sure to clarify, if you don't mind, and put on the record. Really, really importantly, being on the wait list for a long-term voucher doesn't mean you are hanging out getting nothing
Correct.
and no housing assistance.
Correct.
And I think that's a really important thing because once you get the intake such that you can get put on the housing list, waiting list, you've gotten a strong housing stability and psychosocial assessment so that we can help link you to services in the meantime. Immediately link anyone who is on the street into temporary housing, whether it's emergency housing that's really temporary or where it's short-term housing up to a couple of years, which is still not ideal. We want stability, but that's not, I just want to point out that we want to make sure that people on the wait list have access to a whole host of services while they're waiting for these long-term vouchers as well.